you know, they're pretty vigilant about where they are, what rivers they would be, because they got to warn people, like, don't swim here. Some people don't listen, they're stupid and they die. But like a croc's not going to just sort of give you an exploratory bite like a great white might and leave you.
No,
you know?
they're going to snatch you.
And they're, you know, and they're not going to get the surfboard in the way from the underbite, you know. They're going to.
There was a horrible story that I read. I think it was in National Geographic about these two people that were kayaking in a river in Africa, and this guy watched.
Third guy went with them. Did you? This might be a different story.
I don't know. What story did you hear?
This one was like these two guys were going to do a first descent down this thing, and they were contacting another guy who had done that river, an American guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the American guy was like, I can't miss this descent. I got to do this. I got to do that whole river. And then the three of them got into this zone where there was just crocs everywhere, and the river was real slow and wide. And as soon as they got there, all the crocs came off the river bank. And they were like, oh, shit, there's like tons of them. Oh. And this guy's theory was to take his helmet and throw it off to the side so it would be like movement and distract them, and they'd attack that, and he'd paddle to the shore. And all three of them got together, and the American guy was on the right side, and the other two guys were together, and they were so close, they could, like the guy in the middle like couldn't really paddle. He was just kind of like, you know, trying to move along with them. And so they figured if the bigger we are, the bigger we look and more intimidating, like maybe we'll be okay. 15, 18-foot croc comes up, grabs the guy, pulls him out of his kayak, disappears. They never see him again. His backpack floats up, and then his stuff's floating downstream. The other two guys get out of the water, and I think I'm telling the story pretty good because I read it like 5 times online too. And they got out of the water, and then there was a little village just down, and there was a little bridge over, and there were some boats, but the boats were all dry docked. And they went down, and in broken English, there was one person that could talk to them or whatever, and they said, you know, our boats are not in the water because there's too many crocs here. Like, we know not to go in the water. Because they were like, we need a boat. We got to find his body. We got to try and save him, you know. And then they went to this bridge and watched this stuff, like, float by.
That's the same story.
Yeah. And the guy wasn't supposed to be on the trip.
And there was about the guy, the kayak flipping and then pulling his body out under the kayak.
Yeah. Brutal.
They're monsters. There's a show called
Uncharted.
Dinosaurs. They really are.
Yeah.
There's a show called Uncharted by you ever seen that show?
Yeah.
My friend Jim Shockey is
Florida.
That's 15-foot fucking alligator they found in Florida strolling across the golf course. And the next day they found a giant rattlesnake strolling across a golf course. Look at the size of that thing.
I was friends with Steve Irwin. So I used to go to...
God, look at the size of that thing.
It's massive.
It's on a golf course.
Here's the thing. I think there's a misconception about the crocs, and they actually talked about this because I used to be friends with Steve Irwin before he passed away. He actually had me hand feed a 13-foot croc. Scariest thing I've ever done in my life. Terrified.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. He told me, you know, you got to feed a croc. He's like,
that,
Kelly, you ready, mate? You got to feed a croc. You got to feed aggro. Oh. So for 2 nights,
are so crazy.
For 2 nights, I had nightmares. Look at it.
What is this guy doing?
What's this guy doing?
I told you I saw this a few weeks ago.
What's this guy doing?
He's feeding them?
Why is he doing
Look
that?
at the heads of these things. Look at their heads.
I can't zoom in.
Good Lord. And these are wild crocs.
Yeah.
Well, they look pretty... like, they know this guy's going to feed him something. They know something's in that bag.
What the fuck ever, man? Look at the heads on these things.
But see, this is like the conception the concept we have about these animals, right? We just think that they're just killers and whatever. Do you ever see the guy in Limon, Costa Rica, who had a pet 15-foot croc?
Yeah,
that
I did
he raised?
see that. That guy's an asshole. This is crazy.